The Gospel is written in the 6th chapter of St. Luke, beginning at the 27th verse. Jesus said unto them, say that you listen, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. Give to everyone who begs from you, and if anyone takes away your goods, do not ask for them again. Do to others as you would have them do to you. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For every sinner loves those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. If you lend to those from whom you hope to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much again. But love your enemies, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, for He is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful just as your Father is merciful. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back. Here ends the gospel for the day. Please be seated. I can just about guess, if you were listening intently to that gospel message and really took it seriously, you would say, come on, Jesus, give us a break. Nobody can live up to those kind of standards. It doesn't make sense. Besides that, we become enablers, and you could go on and on and on. Very frankly, this text and the text for this particular Sunday are troubling. They are difficult. Let's take the Old Testament lesson first. Most of you, I'm sure, are familiar with the story of Joseph and his many-colored coat. Joseph was one of the 12 sons of Jacob. He was an arrogant, rude, spoiled kid. He constantly taunted his brother, and what he received for this was a very special gift, a special coat from his father, when he probably should have been getting a licking, or at least being disciplined. He caused so many problems with his brothers that they decided to kill him. So they took him out on the road and were going to dump him into a pit. And then the oldest brother said, well, we really shouldn't kill him. We got to do something else. And lo and behold, along come people from Egypt. And they ask if they can sell him as a slave to them. Now, that's a solution. If you get problems with your sibling, just sell him into slavery. So they do. They go home and they tell their father that he has been killed. And they take a goat and kill it and put the blood on this many-colored coat and see he's been torn apart. Oh, we're very grieving. But Joseph goes out into Egypt and he becomes quite well known. He becomes so good a worker that he's taken in to the Pharaoh's court and made a part of the court, actually prime minister. And there he continues to do well. But he is a handsome lad, and the wife of the Pharaoh decides she wants to seduce him. He refuses and runs out, leaving his coat behind. The wife complains of the husband, saying that he tried to rape her. Joseph is thrown into prison, waiting his turn to die. But gradually he becomes a very popular figure in the prison, and he becomes a dream interpreter. And he interprets a couple of dreams of those who are also in prison, and everything that he says comes true. Now Pharaoh has a problem. Pharaoh has a very dream that upsets him a great deal, and the person who has been to Joseph before says this man is really good at interpreting dreams. He comes and interprets a dream for the Pharaoh, and he is again put back into his place as prime minister. Fast forward a couple of years. The drought and the pestilence that Joseph has predicted has come true. And what happens is his family, his 11 brothers and his father, come down from Israel to Egypt to beg for food. They present themselves to Joseph. They do not recognize him. Of course, he has matured. It's been a long time since they've seen him. And Joseph is moved. He has every right to be angry with his brothers. He has every right to turn them away, to give an eye for an eye, but he doesn't. He feels bad. He cries. And he gives them food. And he gives them a place to live. He restores them. And tells them that he is the one that they have sent away. He is their brother and his son, Jacob's son. But he's forgiven. That's great. All's well that ends well, right? Well, the only problem with that story is it's a lot easier to forgive when you've got complete power. I mean, those brothers groveled before him and asked for food to stay alive. He had every right to let them live or die. Now, Joseph could have acted in revenge, but he didn't. And so he becomes a model for us. But again, it's awful easy to forgive when you've got all the power. It's a lot harder to forgive when you are the victim and one who is always at the bottom of the rung. So now we come to our gospel lesson. And we read these words of Jesus. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for them who abuse you. If anyone strikes you on a cheek, give the other cheek. And from anyone who takes away your coat, give him your shirt also. Give to everyone who begs from you. And if anyone takes away your goods, do not ask for that again. Now there's a problem with that. And the problem with that is many good, well-meaning Christians use this text in trying to respond to those who have been victimized and tell them to endure it, to get a stiff upper lip and take it. Now, here is one situation where we can't take one text out of context. We have to refer to the whole Bible. And the Bible tells us that we live in a sinful world, we live in a sinful society, and we need to stand up for those who are victimized, those who are weak, unable to defend themselves, who are at the mercy of people who have much more power than they. You need to stand up and defend those that need you. The addition we have in this text, it has to be done with compassion. The problem is, we said, is that this text is misused. Very often silence those who have been victimized. This passage is not an a la carte forgiveness or pass-through for those who have been victimized to not do anything about how they have been abused. The author, black female author Zola Neale Houston, wrote this: during the fight for desegregation. If you are silent about your pain, they will kill you and say you enjoyed it. The inference is that many times Christians use the Bible to let other peoples get away with injustice. Christians often encourage victims to be silent about their pain using the Bible as their guide. I have often seen where people who were victimized were used read Bible verses of this nature in order not to be disenfranchised or inconvenienced by the difficult stories that the victims tell. Case in point, one of our major church bodies has a major scandal and has had for years and years. They haven't done anything about abuse of children. Somehow they let these things pass from the clergy itself and used Bible verses to support the victimizers. Another major body now has experienced much the same kind of condemnation, not on such a grand scale, but in one of the other major denominations, 180 people have been indicted, 120 convicted and penalized. I have seen people in situations, be they wives or husbands, that have been advised by clergy to not worry about being in abusive relationships. Just grin and bear it. You made the marriage vows. You need to endure whatever comes your way. We've used the Bible to justify our segregation. We've used the Bible to justify all kinds of things that we, our Christians, are guilty of slapping people in the face for. The well-meaning detractors say the thing to do is to put a positive note on your victimization and let the past be the past and try to ignore it as if it doesn't still exist in the present. Many so-called Christians would rather see someone die in their pain rather than die in our indifference or need to feel secure in our self-righteousness. The response we have as people into this passage that we have as a gospel text is, why do you expect so much more out of those that have been victimized than those that are victims? Nevertheless, the message of this text has some powerful messages to convey to us. It tells me as a person that if I am abused, I have the ability and the intelligence to determine how I am going to respond to that. It also tells me that I can do things to stop abuses and victimization, but I have to do it in the spirit of justice, of doing the right thing, and with a hope that the end is a reuniting and a reconciliation. Reconciliation must always be the goal. There's a beautiful little snippet in the Fiddler on the Roof, the play in the movie Fiddler on the Roof, where the Russians have come into the Jewish village and destroyed it once again. And he says, the Russian soldier says, we have to keep doing this and make you uncomfortable and persecute you because that's what our people want us to do to you. We don't mean it with any kind of nastiness. We just got to make you feel miserable. And the people are ready to respond, and they go to the rabbi. And they say to the rabbi, look what they're doing to us. Isn't Doesn't the Torah say an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth? And the rabbi looks at them and said, if it's an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, everybody in the world would be blind and toothless. Even if I am the one slapped, this passage says, I do have the ability to change the course of violence by not responding in kind. Some of the great leaders in the past have told us you can do this, sometimes even to the cost of life. Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Mother Teresa. The message, they say, is retaliation will only bring more violence. Yes, we have to stand up to the victimizers and change it. They have to obey the laws, but we'll do it in a kind, in a desire for reconciliation, and not respond in kind. Kindness, the scriptures say, is the only thing that can bring us help. Kindness is the only thing that can bring us hope. Kindness is the only thing that can bring us healing. The passage today from the Gospel of Luke tells us this thing is upside down, it's backwards, it's uncomfortable, it's beyond belief, and it's not easy. But to defend those that need defending, and to experience kindness in the defense and in making things right is the only way that the message of God's love can be perpetrated in today's crazy world. Amen.